Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I want to give you a non-intimidating street photography project that you can complete with absolutely no fear, and hopefully it will give you the confidence and the skills to start building on your street photography experience. Now, I know better than anybody else that street photography can be really intimidating, and it may feel like everybody's looking at you as soon as you pull out the camera. You might feel just a little bit too shy to take photographs of people, and it may seem that street photography is all about people, and therefore if you feel too shy, it's not for you. And you may not actually know what you're looking for at all, so you might be wandering the streets for hours on end, not knowing what you want and going home disappointed. Now, to change that, you need to make sure you give yourself some clear objectives and goals. And to help you with that, I'm giving you a very simple street photography project, and I can tell you it's definitely doable because I've done it myself, and I can give you some guidance to how to get started. Yeah, so like I said, I've actually done it myself, and I did get it printed, as well as it's available on iTunes, so I can put that in the link below. And not just that, I've also created a PDF with all the guidelines, all the advice, everything. So I'll also link that below if you'd like to take a look at that and download it. More about the project. I call it Discarded, and what it is, basically you'll be walking the streets shooting trash. And it may sound like I'm talking rubbish, but actually it's a nice little project, so let me tell you more about it. So why shoot trash? Well, whether you live in a small village or a big city, it doesn't matter. I'm sure you've noticed that us humans, we discard everything, from food, packaging to clothes to furniture. And although these days we're trying to make the world a more greener place, I've no doubt we noticed that we still have a long way to go. So it got me thinking, why not create a small visual documentary about the changes, about highlighting the changes that need to happen, and also at the same time use that as a learning opportunity to focus on your skills as a photographer. Creating a small documentary, it doesn't have to be about going to war zones or anything. It can be something that's quite close to home, and it can still have an impact on the world and the people around us. So I thought, let's just use this, and we'll also learn how to create something out of completely nothing, literally. Right, so those are the reasons why. So let's get started on actually shooting the project. So the first point is, how should I get started? Well, before you get started, you actually need to know when and how will you finish the project. Having clear objectives and goals is what gives you the guidance to going from the starting point, going from zero to the finished product. And if you don't have that, it's very likely that you'll be starting something, being quite sort of happy and motivated to do it, and then eventually other things can creep in and you'll just drop it. So you need to give yourself clear goals and give yourself a deadline. As for the deadline, it could be, for example, 6, 9, 12 months or above, but make sure you take into account your personal, professional life and how much time you can spend on doing this project. And just don't leave it open-ended, because you could be doing it for 50 years and never finish it. And also, not just a deadline, give yourself a finished product to aim for. For example, for me personally, it's usually ebooks or iBooks, whichever, and perhaps also a printed book. And whether you choose to do, for example, a slideshow online, or it could be maybe even a website dedicated to your project. It could be, like I said, ebook, iBook, any printed products such as magazine, book. Just giving yourself that product to aim for, it'll just solidify your goals a little bit more, and it'll also make you more excited to actually see what it looks like when it's all finished. So secondly, how should we shoot it? The beauty of this project is that you can do it practically anywhere. On us people, we've reached into most inaccessible areas in the world, and we've left a footprint, as in rubbish. And so it doesn't really matter where you live, so as long as you're prepared to go outside and do the miles. So just forget about the, beautiful sun scrapers or the Instagrammable sunsets, and just focus on this one thing. And having this one thing to focus on, you'll start to gain confidence in photographing the streets, because you're not going to be randomly wandering around hoping for something to happen. you will be looking for a very specific thing, and I find it just helps you sort of get used to being outside on the street, getting used to the environment and getting used to using your camera outside in the public space. My only rule would be never ever to alter the scene, because this is a documentary type project, not like fine art, still life project. For me personally, it's important to make sure you photograph the scene exactly as it is. Obviously, you will put your spin on it as a photographer, as an artist, but leave the scene untouched, because that's the reality, and that's exactly what you're photographing. And you might consider maybe bringing a friend or listening to music on your headphones or maybe podcast, because it's very likely that you will very quickly rack up some miles on your Fitbit if you use one. So make sure you are prepared to do the walking, and it may get frustrating at times, or the weather might be bad on the day that you have a day off specifically for this, but just make sure you push through it, and I am convinced that you'll be satisfied and proud of yourself at the end of it. And also, I think this project could be great for photographers or children. It's just like nice little thing that you can do together as a family. So let's talk a little bit more about the composition and, finding these pieces of rubbish in the street and how do we work the scene. So consider including a little bit more of the scene to add more context to your image. Think about the bigger picture literally and, do the surroundings, add something to the image. Although I said this project is not really photographing people, you still have the option to try and include some strangers into your images. For example, it could be their feet walking by and, disappearing silhouettes in the background. And for me personally, I think it just adds a little bit more interest to the image, as does including a little bit more of the scene. Think about creating abstract shots using visually pleasing lines or colors or shapes. So things like close-ups will also work. Use different angles and don't be afraid to get down on the ground to photograph. Or maybe to also point your camera straight down and just make sure that your feet are not in the photo. Utilize a variety of lenses to achieve all these different effects. For example, the wide angle lens would work perfectly for looking straight down. It could also work for including quite a big scene, whereas a longer lens would be perfect for creating a nice bokeh effect, for including people and silhouettes in the background. Use juxtaposition as a way of composing, for example, an object in contrast to its location, contrasting colors and more. And of course, there's many other techniques that you can practice on this project, for example, long exposure. So just use this project to really start honing your skills as a photographer and to gain confidence shooting outside in the streets. A large number of people start projects and never get to finish them because other things come into play, for example, family life and obviously building business as well. It's understandable that other things can be deemed more important than something like this, but at the same time, as a photographer and as an artist, I think you should treat personal projects as a way to work on your skills and not just your skills as a photographer, but also as a person. So in my opinion, as a photographer, you will give yourself some invaluable experience from doing this. For example, it could be, the shooting process itself, or creating concepts, practicing your way of seeing, seeing these compositions out of completely nothing, and also designing a finished product and presenting it. So experience and all that aside, I think looking at a finished product is a gift in itself. And you'll just feel so much pride and satisfaction, and you get to share with your family and friends as well. And I find that over time, this feeling just grows and grows and grows. So think about, 30 years down the line, and you'll look back at all these projects that you achieved. Is a really nice feeling, and it gives you a sense of fulfillment as well. I gotta say, when I do finish projects, I tend to feel, just for a brief moment, I tend to feel so quite empty and as if I don't have anything I'm so dedicated to. But it quickly passes because I'm always on the lookout for new projects, and you almost get on a high when you get to finish something. You just feel so satisfied. You wanna keep doing this, although it's not gonna be the same thing. You'll be looking for different projects, but just a sense of having seen something from the complete zero all the way to a finished product. It is such a nice feeling, and that's what keeps me going every time. Anyway, going back to the project, make sure you have a clear goal, make sure you give yourself a deadline, and please get that stuff printed out, because trust me, all that hard work, I don't want it to be seen like floating somewhere online, or no, even worse, being somewhere on a folder on your laptop, never ever to be seen and never ever to be looked at again. So like I said, I do have the full guides in the description below if you want to look at that and download it. And you know, it gives you advice on composition, on editing, on general shooting tips. So this video is more like a brief introduction to this, if you like. So hopefully you'll find this resource useful, and if you do, I would love to hear from you, because it's always nice to hear your comments and your feedback. And as always, if you have any questions or if you want to share any work with me, please feel free to get in touch as well. I'm always happy to hear from you. And if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate if you hit thumbs up and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.